I came across some research recently that I think you'll find very helpful as you're trying to think about where can we insert AI into our operations. So this paper addresses the question, how can we use generative AI in frontline service? This was recently presented at a conference from by some scholars in Germany. The title of the paper is Generative AI in Customer Support Services, a Framework for Augmenting the Routines of Frontline Service Employees. So this paper demonstrates or provides an interesting and useful framework for breaking down tasks that are related to customer service and figuring out how can those specific tasks be augmented with artificial intelligence. And so I wanted to give you this summary because, as I said, I think it's going to really give you nice guidance for doing the project. So first of all, as you're thinking about how you can insert artificial intelligence into your business operations, I think that a helpful framework for thinking about this challenge is that most likely every organization is going to have some kind of information systems already in place. I recently created this audit of information systems that we use here at Radford. So if you think about, here's the student, and then these are the various people involved in the process of providing you with an education and a degree. In the process, we share, communicate, store, and find information in a number of different systems. So the ones that you probably are most familiar with are D2L, which is Brightspace. If you use the online catalog, it's Accolog. DegreeWorks helps you figure out your which credits you have to take. WorldCat is for the library, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea here is that we have, in order to do our business, we have all these different systems. And what is most likely to happen as AI starts to be part of how we do things is these AI capabilities are going to be included as new modules, new libraries, new services that are going to become packaged as part of these existing systems. So as you start to think about, well, how are we going to leverage AI to improve what we do? I want you to think about using what I'm calling a systems perspective. So basically, take a look at the systems that are currently in use in your organization and select one where you think the capabilities can be enhanced by AI. And there's really two reasons why I think this is a good approach to this. One is that the fact is most information systems are now deployed as software as a service. That is, an organization doesn't really install or maintain software on its own servers anymore. Typically what happens is you buy a license and you're given a login ID and you use some web-based software as a service. Most of these systems that Radford uses are just that. They're software as a service, which means we are customers, but we don't have any say in we don't actually do any of the development and the customization. So what is most likely to happen as AI, how AI will find its way into the organization is going to be through extensions to these existing systems. So, for example, we are unlikely to make a university-wide chatbot that will provide you with some service, but I believe the library already has a chatbot that came as an extension to their existing catalog, and so on. So the manager's role then is not going to be typically in creating artificial intelligence, making new models, new algorithms, training, providing training data, typically what the manager is going to do is they're going to partner with these vendors in the design. So they might give some feedback on what they would like to see. And then the manager is also going to be in a position to select which modules are actually going to adopt. They're going to adopt there. So the second reason why I think it's a good idea to focus on the systems perspective is that around every single one of these information systems, there's this ecosystem of roles, responsibilities, and routines. And these particular roles, responsibilities, and routines are going to be the particular focus of change. So it's hard to think about how something is going to affect the entire organization and everybody who works there. But if you focus on a particular set of operations, then it might be easier to think about who's going to do what differently. So in this paper, they decided to focus on how exactly AI will add to their IT ticketing service system, or more generally, their IT services. So the equivalent of that here at Radford is we've got software as a service that we purchase called ServiceNow. So this paper asked the question, how do we take a system like this and change the way we do things to take advantage of AI? Okay, so the method that these researchers used was, first of all, they adopted a framework of what's called organizational routines. That is, you have these hierarchical charts that kind of tell you what your job is and who you report to, organizational charts. And you also have a list of responsibilities. However, those don't really encapsulate the way things actually work. So organizational routines is the name for this set of behaviors that are actually done to get things done in the organization. So routines represent behavioral patterns of actions performed multiple times to achieve a certain goal. Okay? So one way that they decided to organize this thinking about AI and IT services was to say, okay, what are the actual routines that IT service providers go through to provide this service? Okay, so their next step was to do a thorough literature review about what's known about AI applications and service so far. Spoiler alert, not much. This is pretty new, especially generative AI. So there's much more to be said about that. And finally, they conducted extended interviews with 11 experts in IT service provision. So they did these interviews, they talked to them, they noticed certain patterns, and then they're reporting on what they see as the most important things. So here's what they came up with. So first of all, one way to approach the insertion of AI into IT service provision is to think about the different channels that are involved. So they conceptualize this IT service provision as what they're calling a triadic relationship. Just means that there's three actors involved here. There is the customer, there's you. There is the frontline service employee, that is the IT employee who's actually handling your problem. And then there's the AI. And one way to think about how AI can improve this service is to think about where it's going to be in this whole communication process. So there are all these different arrows here. So AI could, for example, be in the middle of this communication channel right here between the customer and the frontline service employee. So this involvement they're calling AI-mediated communication. So the AI will take the customer's problem, maybe translate it into something that the service provider knows a little bit better, and then communicates that to the frontline service employee. Also, the frontline service employee may come up with an answer, but it's filled with jargon or maybe even grammatical mistakes, and the AI fixes that and then communicates that back to the customer. So they're just kind of mediating this particular channel. So there are three different So that's one, it's kind of sitting between them. Then there are 3 different communication channels here where they say, well, the AI could also just communicate directly with the frontline service employee, and they could coach them. So this is this line right here. They can coach them, like help them, prompt them with what they could say or what the solutions might be. There are also what they're calling AI-enabled decision support. So maybe the AI has some information, predictive models that they can communicate the answer to and say, I know what the answer to this problem is, and here's what you should do. So they're communicating that to the frontline service employee. And also the what they're calling AI-supported collaboration. So maybe the frontline service employee, sometime in the process, they are going back and forth with the AI saying, okay, here's the problem, what should I do? Okay, could you give me a better answer? What about this? So they have this back and forth between the AI and themselves. Now, finally, this channel between the customer and the AI. Now, notice until now, the customer has been communicating with the frontline service employee, or that communication channel is mediated by the AI. Notice that in the case of this, the customer is dealing directly with the AI. So this would be where they're actually dealing directly with the bot, and the bot is doing something for them. So this is like, if you see this on the right here, they have this, this wedge that describes the degree of AI augmentation. So basically, as you go down this list, AI is doing more and more. And in the case of this, the customer is communicating directly with the AI and doing, maybe if they say, I would like to deposit some money in my account, and the AI actually performs that operation. So that's full on AI, performing the routines. Now, probably when you think about chatbots, you're probably just thinking about this channel right here, but know that there's a lot of different ways that this triadic communication can happen. Okay, so that's approach number 1, thinking about the communication channels. So approach number 2 gets back into this organizational routines. So identifying the organizational routines that are actually involved in the provision of these services. And so what they've come up with here is they said, okay, what are all the different routines that are involved in providing IT service? So one of them is assign. That is, if you think about when you fill out a trouble ticket, what exactly happens with that? Well, it has to be assigned to somebody. So the components of this assign routine are creating the ticket, retrieving any information that's missing, and maybe categorizing your problem. Okay, so maybe if it's a password reset, then it goes to a certain thing. So where does AI fit into that routine? Well, AI can retrieve the missing information, take your description and generate a better description, and then perform the classification. It says, okay, well, I've seen your description and I know what this is. This is a problem in doing this. And so they can add that classification to the ticket. So these are things that AI can definitely do. So another routine involved in this process is refer and transfer. So after that ticket is created, is it going to be handled automatically, or is it going to be assigned to a frontline employee? So at this stage, what has to happen is you have to identify the relevant expert to send the ticket to. So where AI can be involved in this process is they can use NLP to match the ticket to the employee skill profiles. So these are the things that the AI can do. These are the things that the frontline employees can do. Where does this ticket go at this point? And AI can help with that. Okay, so the next routine is to escalate. So if the problem can't be solved at the first level, it's got to go to the next level. Well, where can AI be involved in that? Well, AI can request additional information from the customer. Okay, can't solve it yet. Here's what I need to know, and they can automate a message to the customer to get that information. Or they can look up information and then append additional technical summary to the ticket, so that when it does get escalated to the next level, there's a little bit more information there that the expert can use to fill the rest in. Okay, so another routine is to locate. That is, you have to find the solution. So, okay, so here's this problem, this computer won't boot. They're going to this screen. What should be done? Well, finding the solution either in a knowledge base, or a lot of times they just Google it. It does happen. This is stuff that AI can automate. It can look up solutions and provide recommendations. And of course, the quality of this is going to depend on the database that the AI has to look through. And I'm going to say more on how to keep the quality of that down at the bottom. Okay, so another routine is to adapt. That is, so after you got the general solution, how do you frame that so that this particular case can be solved? So do you have to connect to their computer? Is there some instruction you can give them? Do you have to call them? So how exactly do you go about implementing this for this particular case? So in this case, the AI can generate a technical description of the solution for the expert. Okay. Now, there's also generating that goes on when when the problem is solved and the resolution has to be communicated to the customer. Well, generative AI can come in here too. So AI can generate a description to the customer that's non-jargon heavy. Okay, so the temptation is with the technical expert, they know exactly what the solution is, and they may express it in a highly technical way. Well, generative AI can take that technical description and then put it in terms that the typical IT customer can understand. Okay, and then the final step is to retain the knowledge. So as you go through solving problems, it's, to keep the quality of service up over the long haul, you have to keep the knowledge that you gained, the lessons that you learned from every single action. So this is typically a problem because a lot of support people are busy, and once they make a solution, they have to go on to the next problem, and they don't have time to really describe and document every single thing that they did. Now, if they did, that would be wonderful, because then that is a knowledge base that can be created for future problems. Okay, so this is where AI can really solve a problem. It's people don't have time to write down everything they did, so the AI can generate complete problem descriptions, and then those descriptions can be used to populate the database that is used for the locate step earlier on. Okay, so the idea here is that this gives us this thinking about organizational routines gives us a really nice way to think concretely about exactly what pieces of these routines can be automated with AI. Rather than just saying, oh, an AI chatbot will help this way, this will actually give you something much more concrete that you can point to. And then once you've decided on exactly what the AI augmentation is going to be, then implementation becomes much more straightforward, because you have a very specific idea of who's involved and what routines are involved. Okay, so to summarize, so I encourage you to use a systems approach to infusing AI in operations. So identify the systems that kind of embody the way things are done currently, and then figure out where AI can enhance those operations. Okay, and for your system, identify the channels of information exchange where AI can help. So something like this, okay, who's involved, and can AI be involved in these communication channels? And then third, identify the organizational routines that can be augmented by AI. So that's this sort of thing right here. What are the actual steps involved in this routine? And then where can AI fill in? Okay, so the goal with this kind of analysis is you want to set up something that's going to optimally leverage AI capabilities and human capabilities. Obviously, computers are much better at us than doing mathematics. They're better at us than at finding and retrieving information. We don't have very good memories. We're pretty slow compared to them. However, there's a lot that we can do in terms of judgment and, of course, the interpersonal side. So you want to set up your AI system in such a way that you can use both of those capabilities.